So, what I'm getting for you guys is I feel like, things were really frustrating for you during Virgo season, right? Because it was moving so slow. So from like August 21st to roughly September 22nd, things were just moving at a snail's pace. Things that needed to be done or communication has been very, very slow in coming. Things not getting off the ground with you and a potential crush. And things were just like people were being so overly analytical, or the word I'm hearing is critical, that they take forever to respond to text messages, or they might overanalyze text messages and communication that's coming through. You feel like you're very straightforward in the way you communicate, but I feel like the other person might not be reciprocating in the manner that you'd hope. And so you might have somebody that you're very fixated on, but for whatever reason, they're not putting in the exact amount of effort in order to maintain the relationship, or in order to communicate with you and let them know that you're interested. So it was very frustrating. And I feel like many of you have kind of retreated and started doing your own thing, focusing on your career, focusing on other areas of your life, and waiting for possibly, if this person is not communicating with me, then I'm just going to be done and over with, and, keep my options open and focus on myself, focus on other things that I can do in my own life for my self image, for my own benefit. And so, if that was what you were dealing with during the Virgo season, I feel like moving forward, things are a lot more airy, there's a lot more communication coming through. And there's just a lot more, I feel like clarity coming through about a person that you're interested in, okay? I see a lot of people who are single for this week that might be watching this. And so what I feel here, this is a full force communication. The Eight of Wands. So this is the arrows of love. Communication, you send, and then somebody responds like instantaneously. Text, email, phone calls, messages, likes on social media, comments on social media. So there's a lot. Many of you are using many social media platforms. You might have two phones. You might have, communicating with a crush through emails, through text messages. Aquarius also got the same card. So if you have Aquarius in your sun, moon, or rising, or if you're dealing with an Aquarius, you might want to watch their video as well. It will explain things from their perspective. But either way, there's a lot of communication that you're sending out to the world, and a lot of communication that you're getting back. And so whatever was stalled during Virgo season because people were analyzing or overanalyzing the communication, I feel like there is feedback. There is like so many invitations, as well as opportunities for travel, for movement, somebody wanting to make travel plans to see you, you are trying to make plans to go see them. But either way, I see your social life and your love life really blossoming. And you might even need to fend off a few people, mainly because there's way too much like unwanted attention. The person that you're dealing with, and in particular, I see air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. We have here the Five of Swords. And I'm not getting conflict or anything like that, but I feel like this is somebody that is, they're trying to turn their back on their past. They're trying to move on with their lives. They're trying to like get a clean start. They also have a lot on their plate, so they're picking and choosing which message to respond to. So, for example, you might ask them, hey, where are you right now? Can I visit you next month? And they might respond, oh, I'm in, such location. But they never respond to the second part of the message, which is, can I come to see you? Or, I'm here right now. Will you come and see me? And they're like, oh, you're there? Okay. But then they never respond to your second part of the message, which is, do you want to come see me? So if you're dealing with an air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra, I feel like they've got a lot on their plate that they need to wrap up. They're dealing with a lot of things as well that they're not really disclosing. And I feel as if, I feel almost as if they don't want to be bothered. They want to take care of all the problems in their own lives, sort things out, because I feel like this is the sword energy, and I'm hearing like sword things out. So they're dealing with some things that they're not comfortable sharing. And they're dealing with some things that they're having trouble trying to find a solution to. They're doing troubleshooting, problem solving, working out the logistics in their own life, trying to turn their back, like trying to turn their back away from the past and trying to move on with their lives, and just sorting things out. And so if you're not getting communication from this person, don't fret over it. I feel like this is a temporary phase that they're dealing with. And this is something that they need to do first, because when their life is in disarray, they don't want to be in a relationship. I see a lot of technology. So you might be dealing with someone who has technology issues. So you're sending them a message. They might not get it because, they might have broken their phone. They dropped their phone in water. They are also MIA on the social media front. So you're like, hey, I wonder what's going on with them. And I feel like there are other things that are on their mind. And so they'll respond when they're ready. Okay. And I mentioned as well with air signs are very communicative. If they like somebody, they will initiate conversation. If you find yourself initiating communication all the time with an air sign, and they're like this, or they're not really responding, or they're not initiating that conversation, it might not be because they're not feeling it. They're not feeling the connection. So the way in which air signs express that they like somebody, they initiate the conversation. And if you text them and they respond, but they don't initiate conversation, they don't ask you follow-up questions, they might not be interested. And I feel like you're starting to get that. You're starting to get this chilly, cold air with this person, okay? And I feel like you're starting to notice that. So I see a lot of you guys, King of Wands, withdrawing your energy, focusing on yourself, looking at other options that might be available for you. And the way that you come to the table, you look really good. You're taking care of yourself, possibly working out, getting a tan, being more outdoors, enjoying the rest of, the nice weather before we come into the fall. And just, getting a new wardrobe, getting out there, doing more fun activities, socializing, mingling, and taking up all of these invitations. Mainly because if someone's not reciprocating the effort that you put in, I feel like you're not going to wait around, right? Like you guys are not the waiters. You guys are not the people that will put your life on hold for other people. And even if you have somebody in mind and they're not reciprocating, I feel like you still know how to, have a good time even without them. So your energy, very single, looking good, attracting a lot of attention, possibly some unwanted attention. And I feel like you're trying to move away from your past and you're trying to find people that are giving you that constant feedback and that communication. And I feel like some of you might have children and you're trying to sort out issues with you and an ex, like a person you might have children with, in terms of sorting out communication regarding childcare, regarding custody, so that you can, try to move on with your dating life and your social life and things like that. So this is usually like a father figure. Some of you might be dealing with another fire sign, Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo. And if you're dealing with them, there's a lot of ego clashes, okay? So I feel like you might have an air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, and you have another person, possibly another fire sign, Aries, Sagittarius, Leo in your midst. And the energy between the two of you is like this. We have the King, and then we have the Magician. So this is like somebody that is, what I say goes, okay? He's manipulating the water. Okay, he's manipulating the water. So you might be with somebody who's got a lot of things going on in their lives. They're kind of like either a supervisor, a manager, somebody that has a lot of power, somebody that is quite financially stable. They have a lot of charm, a lot of charisma. They know a lot of things about a lot of things. They are, as well, they see a lot of potential in themselves. And I feel almost like if it's trying to come together, they're going to be moving towards you. And so your spiritual advice in love is be like this, love from afar, love from a distance, but make sure that the other person comes towards you. If it's meant to be, it shouldn't be so hard. You shouldn't do all the pursuit, because I feel like this person has the intention to come towards you with the Six of Wands. They want to jump over troubled waters. They want to bridge the distance and the divide. They have a lot of success things, career things, and work things, and public image things, and reputation, and all of these things. They have all of these things going on in their lives that they're focusing on. They're trying to conjure up something, and they're trying to be with you. But I feel like you kind of need to take a step back and let your crush or your significant other take care of their things before they can come to you clean and whole and stable in themselves. So even if you're dealing with a fire sign or an Aquarius or whoever you're dealing with, I feel like your partner might not be as communicative. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. It's just they need to sort out some things. They need to make things and manifest things in their own lives before they can feel stable enough to be in a relationship. But I feel like somebody is going to be reaching out. They're going to bridge the distance and the emotional divide with you. And so your advice is learn to kind of like, don't pursue it. Let them come towards you. Okay. Your spiritual advice for other areas of your life. What I feel is there's a need for you as well, to, and this is a big message that I'm getting here regarding unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice. And you guys are really, really opinionated, and that's to me as an Aquarius, I feel like that's a really good thing. We should have strong feelings about things, right? Because we should know who we are, and we should like feel very, very strongly about many, many things that are relevant in our lives. So how we feel about politics, how we feel about climate change, how we feel about, the environment and certain political parties, like you have very, very strong opinions. And I feel like the expression of your opinions actually matters depending on depending on the context. But I also feel like knowing your audience, and figuring out like, okay, is it appropriate for me to talk about this topic with this audience? I see a very strong teacher vibe in this spread. Many of you might be working with children. Many of you are at a point where you might be shaping future minds and future generations. Okay, so this Queen of Wands, this is a nurturer. This is somebody that's feeding the plant. This is somebody that's like either taking care of children, or even teaching adults. But I feel almost like you have a lot of knowledge that you want to dispense, and you want you want someone to excel, and you want someone to really just develop to their full potential. But I also feel we have here the conflict card, the Five of Wands. So it's sort of like other people are not always like us. So we need to accept and work with these differences. We need to learn to kind of like hold back and figuring out, okay, I'm giving them advice, but is this appropriate for this person because they come from a different era? So I feel like, age difference, worldview differences, cultural differences, and I feel like whatever you're telling them might not be appropriate for them. So they kind of need to go through the process and take care of things on their own. I see an element as well of some of you devoting a lot of time and energy towards somebody, and then I feel like they're not as they're kind of like ungrateful, and they kind of turn on you. Like for example, if you tell them you should do it like this, and then they encounter some blockages, they turn around, they're like, but you told me to do this. So I see that energy for those of you who are managing people, where there's the energy can be like antagonistic, and that is why I would say try to hold back your advice, and just make sure that you give advice when they're asking for it, rather than trying to guide them every step of the way. So loving detachment, and not giving something too much attention and too much intensity, especially if you're dealing with younger people. You want to kind of like loosen the reins so that they can go out and figure things out on their own, rather than playing the mother hen and telling them every step of the way what they should do or doing things for them. For those with children, loving detachment, I feel it's going to work well for you for this week so that they don't feel smothered. Okay. In relationships as well, let them pursue you rather than doing all the pursuit, rather than doing all the work. You need to learn to hold back and kind of allow the other person to reciprocate. Okay, otherwise they can feel very smothered, and they can feel almost like I can kick up my feet and not do the work. And so there is a softening of the energy that's coming in here. This is conflict, and this is resolution, collaboration, cooperation. People who are very different coming together with their ideas. So I feel like in the work environment, all of you have the same purpose, have the same goals. You might have started off on a rocky footing, and you might have had a really rocky start to solidify something, but now everyone is on board, contributing, doing their fair share of the bargain, and doing their fair share of the work to make sure that the project comes to a culmination or comes to fruition. So there is this energy here of things, balancing out naturally. You have to allow the universe to kind of, and you have to also allow other people to step up. So if you're doing all the nurturing, if you're doing all the work, if you're like, obsessively just doing that, it doesn't allow the other person to take incentive or take initiative. It doesn't allow the other person to take initiative to do the work. So leave room for the other person to step up so that they can, shine, and that they can show that they are taking initiative. And so what's happening for this week as well is working from a place of wisdom. Okay, this is like loving detachment, knowing when to step back and knowing when to step forward. Looking at a situation in terms of long-term goal projection, like having a bird's eye view and looking at the whole picture. And I feel for many of you, the message is if you're doing everything for another person, they can grow physically, but they're not really growing mentally. However, if you detach and give them a little bit more free range, they're going to encounter situations that will really test them. And then it will allow them to, creatively solve their own problems. It will allow them to, learn to face their fears or to confront situations so that they naturally learn on their own. Okay. Whenever I see the image of the tree, I usually think about like, how trees, right? They're smothered by the wind and the natural elements, and even like very adverse weather conditions. But that's how they grow strong. So it's almost like opposition is not always bad. It allows other people to grow. It allows us to defend our beliefs, but at the same time hear other people's point of view so that we can have an alternative like discourse as to maybe my point of view has not always been correct, or maybe I'm looking at this situation from a different perspective. So there is definitely a paradigm shift happening here, and there's definitely more cooperation coming through in your overall environment. And a lot of it has to do with loving detachment and kind of like not being so personally invested in things, and not letting our defensiveness or our egos interfere with the creative process. Because I feel like, it's like allowing people to come together from differing points of view so that we can have a more holistic picture of a situation and find better solutions. Okay. So it's a very solutions oriented type of a week. And I feel like you should sit back and let the information filter through before you react. Okay.